None of the three moving truck guys were around at the moment, so I took off. My head hurt so much I thought I must be bleeding, but my hands came away dry. My twisted ankle had frozen up in the truck so that I ran like a broken marionette, and I stopped only once to cancel the photo deletion on Masha's phone. I turned off its radio both to save battery and to keep it from being used to track me, and set the sleep timer to 2 hours, the longest setting available. I tried to set it to not require a password to wake from sleep, but that required a password itself. I was just going to have to tap the keypad at least once every 2 hours until I could figure out how to get the photo off the phone. I would need a charger then. I didn't have a plan. I needed one. I needed to sit down, to get online, to figure out what I was going to do next. I was sick of letting other people do my planning for me. I didn't want to be acting because of what Masha did, or because of DHS, or because of my dad, or because of Angie. Well, maybe I'd act because of Angie. That would be just fine. And I'd just been slipping downhill, taking alleys when I could, merging with the Tenderloin crowds. I didn't have any destination in mind. Every few minutes, I put my hand in my pocket and nudged one of the keys on Masha's phone to keep it from going asleep. It made an awkward bulge, unfolded there in my jacket. I stopped and leaned against a building. My ankle was killing me. Where was I, anyway? O'Farrell at Hyde Street, in front of a dodgy massage parlor. My traitorous feet had taken me right back to the beginning, taken me back to where the photo on Masha's phone had been taken seconds before the Bay Bridge blew, before my life changed forever. I wanted to sit down on the sidewalk and bawl, but that wouldn't solve my problems. I had to call Barbara Stratford, tell her what had happened, show her the photo of Daryl. What was I thinking? I had to show her the video, the one that Masha had sent me, the one where the president's chief of staff gloated at the attacks on San Francisco and admitted that he knew when and where the next attacks would happen, and that he wouldn't stop them because they'd help his man get reelected. That was a plan. Get in touch with Barbara, the news reporter, give her the documents, get them into print. The vent mob had to have really freaked people out, made them think that we really were a bunch of terrorists. Of course, when I'd been planning it, I had been thinking of how good a distraction it would be, not how it would look to some NASCAR dad in Nebraska. I'd call Barbara, and I'd do it smart. I'd do it from a pay phone. There's still pay phones in the BART. Putting my hood up so that the inevitable CCTV wouldn't get a photo of me. I dug a quarter out of my pocket and polished it on my shirt tail, getting the fingerprints off it. I headed downhill, down and down, to the BART station and the payphones there. I made it to the trolley car stop when I spotted the cover of the week's Bay Guardian newspaper, stacked in a high pile next to a homeless guy who smiled at me. Go ahead and read the cover. It's free. It'll cost you 50 cents to look inside, though. The headline was set in the biggest type I'd seen since 9/11. It said, Inside Gitmo by the Bay. Beneath it, in slightly smaller type, how the DHS has kept our children and friends in secret prisons on our doorstep. By Barbara Stratford, special to the SF Bay Guardian. The newspaper seller shook his head. Can you believe that? He said. Right here in San Francisco, man, the government sucks. Theoretically, the Guardian was free, but this guy appeared to have cornered the local market for copies of it. I had a quarter in my hand. I dropped it into his cup and fished for another one. I didn't bother polishing the fingerprints off of it this time. We're told the world changed forever when the Bay Bridge was blown up by parties unknown, it said in the newspaper. Thousands of our friends and neighbors died on that day. Almost none of them has been recovered. Their remains are presumed to be resting in the city's harbor. But an extraordinary story told to this reporter by a young man who was arrested by the DHS minutes after the explosion suggests that our own government has illegally held many of those thought dead on Treasure Island, which had been evacuated and declared off limits to civilians shortly after the bombing. I sat down on a bench, the same bench, I noted with a prickly, hair up the neck feeling, where we'd rested Daryl after escaping from the BART station. And I read the article all the way through. It took a huge effort not to burst into tears. Right there, Barbara had found some photos of me and Daryl goofing around together, and they ran alongside the text. The photos were maybe a year old, but I looked so much younger in them, like I was 10 or 11. I'd done a lot of growing up in the past couple of months. The piece was beautifully written. I kept feeling outraged on behalf of the poor kid she was writing about, and remembering that she was writing about me. Barbara had dug up more info on other kids who were missing and presumed dead, a long list, and asked how many had been stuck there on the island, just a few miles from their parents' doorstep. I dug another quarter out of my pocket, then changed my mind. What was the chance that Barbara's phone wasn't tapped? There was no way I was going to be able to call her now, not directly. I needed some intermediary to get in touch with her and get her to meet me somewhere south. So much for plans. What I really, really needed was the XNet. How was I going to get online? My phone's Wi-Fi was blinking like crazy. There was wireless all around me, but I didn't have an Xbox or a TV and a Paranoid Xbox DVD to boot from. Wi-Fi everywhere. That's when I spotted them. Two kids about my age moving among the crowd at the top of the stairs down into the BART. What caught my eye was the way they were moving. Kind of clumsy, nudging up against the commuters and the tourists. Each had a hand in his pocket. Whenever they met one another's eye, they snickered. They couldn't have been more obvious jammers. That's technological culture jammers, stealing people's secrets with their phones and Wi-Finders and ARFID killers and so forth. But the crowd was oblivious to them. Being down in that neighborhood, you expect to be dodging homeless people and crazies, so you don't make eye contact. Don't look around at all if you can help it. I sidled up to one of the guys. He seemed really young, but he couldn't have been any younger than me. Hey, I said, hey, can you guys come over here for a second? He pretended not to hear me. He looked right through me, the way some people would a homeless person. Come on, I said. I don't have a lot of time. I grabbed his shoulder and hissed in his ear. XNet. He looked scared now, like he wanted to run away, and his friend was moving toward us. I'm serious, I said. Just hear me out. His friend came over. He was taller and beefy, like Daryl. Hey, he said. Something wrong? His friend whispered in his ear. The two of them looked like they were going to bolt. I grabbed my copy of the Bay Guardian from under my arm and rattled it in front of them. Just turn to page 5, okay? They did. They looked at the headline and the photo. It was me. Oh, dude, the first one said. We are so not worthy. He grinned at me like crazy, and the beefier one slapped me on the back. No way, he said. I put my hand over his mouth. Come over here, okay? I brought them back to my bench. I noticed that there was something old and brown staining the sidewalk underneath it. Was it Daryl's blood? It made my skin pucker up. We sat down. I'm Marcus, I said, swallowing hard as I gave my real name to these two who already knew me as Mikey. I was blowing my cover, but the Bay Guardian had already made the connection for me. Nate, the smaller one said. Liam, the big one said. Dude, it is such an honor to meet you. You're like our all-time hero. Don't say that, I said. Don't say that. You two are like a flashing advertisement that says, I am jamming. Please put me in Getmo by the Bay. You couldn't be more obvious. Liam looked like he might cry. Don't worry. You didn't get busted. I'll give you some tips later. He brightened up again. What was becoming weirdly clear was that these two really did idolize Mikey. They'd do anything I said. They were grinning like idiots. It made me uncomfortable, sick to my stomach. Listen, I need to get on XNet now, without going home or anywhere near home. Do you two live near here? I do, Nate said. Up at the top of California Street. It's a bit of a walk, steep hills. I just walked all the way down them. Masha was somewhere up there, but still, it was better than I had any right to expect. Let's go. Nate loaned me his baseball hat and traded jackets with me. I didn't have to worry about gait recognition, not with my ankle throbbing the way it was. I limped like an extra in a cowboy movie. Nate lived in a huge 4-bedroom apartment at the top of Nob Hill. The building had a doorman in a red overcoat with gold brocade, and he touched his cap and called Nate Mr. Nate and welcomed us all there. The place was spotless and smelled of furniture polish. I tried not to gawp at what must have been a couple $1,000,000 worth of condo. My dad, he explained. He was an investment banker, lots of life insurance. He died when I was 14 and we got it all. They'd been divorced for years, but he left my mom as beneficiary. From floor to ceiling window, you could see a stunning view of the other side of Nob Hill, all the way down to Fisherman's Wharf, to the ugly stub of the Bay Bridge, the crowd of cranes and trucks. Through the mist, I could just make out Treasure Island. Looking down all that way, it gave me a crazy urge. Jump. I got online with his Xbox and had a huge plasma screen. In the living room, he showed me how many open Wi-Fi networks were visible from his high vantage point. 20, 30 of them. This was a good spot to be an XNetter. There was a lot of email in my Mikey account, 20,000 new messages since Angie and I had left her place that morning. Lots of it was from the press, asking for follow-up interviews, but most of it was from XNetters. People who had seen the Guardian story and wanted to tell me that they'd do anything to help me, anything I needed. That did it. Tears started to roll down my cheeks. Nate and Liam exchanged glances. I tried to stop, but it was no good. I was sobbing now. I took several deep breaths, then I stopped. Thanks for helping me, Nate, I said. He looked like I just pinned a medal on him. He was a good kid. All right, I said, and picked up the keyboard. The two boys watched in fascination as I paged through my mail on the gigantic screen. What I was looking for first and foremost was email from Angie. There was a chance that she'd gotten away. There was always that chance. I was an idiot to even hope. There was nothing from her. I started going through the mail as fast as I could, picking apart the press requests, the fan mail, the hate mail, the spam, and that's when I found it. A letter from Zeb, who I'd met before, Daryl's cellmate from Gitmo by the Bay, the guy who'd given me hope Daryl was alive. It wasn't nice to wake up this morning and find the letter that I thought you would destroy in the pages of the newspaper. Not nice at all. Made me feel hunted, the letter said. But I've come to understand why you did it. I don't know if I can approve of your tactics, but it's easy to see that your motives were sound. If you're reading this, that means there's a good chance you've gone underground. It's not easy. I've been learning that. I've been learning a lot more. I can help you. I should do that for you. You're doing what you can for me, even if you're not doing it with my permission. Reply if you get this, if you're on the run and alone, or reply if you're in custody, being run by our friends at Gitmo, looking for a way to make the pain stop. If they've got you, you'll do what they tell you. I know that. I take that risk. For you, Mikey. Whoa, Leon breathed. Dude! I wanted to smack him. I turned to say something awful and cutting to him, but he was staring at me with eyes as big as saucers. Can I just say, Nate said, can I just say that this is the biggest honor of my entire life to help you? Can I just say that? I was blushing now. There was nothing for it. These two were totally starstruck, even though I wasn't any kind of star. Not in my own mind, at least. Can you guys? I swallowed. Can I have some privacy here? They slunk out of the room like bad puppies, and I felt bad. I typed fast. I got away, Zed, and I'm on the run. I need all the help I can get. I want to end this now. I remembered to take Masha's phone out of my pocket and tickle it to keep it from going to sleep. They let me use the shower, gave me a change of clothes, a new backpack with half their earthquake kit in it. That's energy bars, medicine, hot and cold packs, an old sleeping bag. They even slipped a spare Xbox Universal, already loaded with Paranoid Xbox, on it into there. That was a nice touch. I had to draw the line at a flare gun. I kept on checking my email to see if Zeb had replied. I answered the fan mail. I answered the mail from the press. I deleted the hate mail. I was half expecting to see something from Masha, but chances were she was halfway to LA by now. Her fingers hurt and in no position to type. I tickled her phone again. They encouraged me to take a nap, and for a brief, shameful moment, I got all paranoid, like maybe these guys were thinking of turning me in once I was asleep, which was idiotic. They could have turned me in just as easily when I was awake. I just couldn't compute the fact that they thought so much of me. I had known intellectually that there were people who would follow Mikey. I had met some of those people that morning shouting, "Fight, fight, fight!" and vamping it up at Civic Center. But these two were more personal. They were just nice, goofy guys. They could have been any of my friends back in the days before XNet. Pals who palled around, having teenage adventures. They volunteered to join an army. My army. I had a responsibility to them. Left to themselves, they'd get caught. It was only a matter of time. They were too trusting.